Donuts. I have to ask you, growing up, did you use the expression store-bought in your family? Hi, I'm back with a great story about St. Awesome, about products that I love around St. John, New Brunswick. And store-bought was a word that was used in my home in Ontario by my parents that were both New Brunswickers. And what it denoted made it either a positive or a negative. And store-bought in my house meant that it was something that my mother hadn't made or my grandmother hadn't made, which meant it was pretty rare. The only store-bought product that we would run for was Mrs. Dunster's. Mrs. Dunster started in the 60s in Sussex, New Brunswick. Ingrid Dunster was known in her community for donuts, and her family and her friends encouraged her to sell her donuts because they were so popular. And so Mrs. Dunster started. So Mrs. Dunster started out of Ingrid and Harold Dunster's home. And her husband encouraged her and actually ended up starting to sell her donuts to different independent grocers that were around her community in Sussex. Demand grew and they started selling out of province as well. Eventually, as the Dunsters got older, their daughter and son-in-law took over the business, and sadly, a fatal accident made the future of the business uncertain. In 1996, Dairytown took over the company and reestablished Mrs. Dunster's brand and set it up in a space that had once been a grocery store in Sussex. And the love of the product continued to grow. Mrs. Dunster's is once again a family-owned business. Back in 2014, Blair and Rosalind Hislop took over Mrs. Dunster's. They make 400 different products, and why don't I tell you about a few of them? You already saw the chocolate nugget, but the one that my grandmother would put out so my grandmother is known for baking. If there's a whoopie pie, Saturday night chocolate cake, that is Maudie McFarland down on the Nashwauk. But donuts, they could be a mess to make. And the only store-bought sweet that my grandmother would put out and admit that it was store-bought, by the way, was a Mrs. Dunster's donuts. If she had those, if she had these little crescents, and sometimes they have the cinnamon coating on them, we would go wild. As I got older, the thing that I liked as I was drinking my tea would be these beautiful ginger snaps. And it's kind of a code in my house that you never just eat one. You generally eat 4 at a time. In their 400 products, they make bread, they make pie, they make cakes. Their store, their factory store in Sussex sees 400,000 visitors a year. That's rivaling the Hopewell Rocks, which is a provincial jewel. 400,000 people that are interested in their products and seeing and buying them firsthand from the factory. That is absolutely incredible. The last thing that I want to say about Mrs. Dunster's is you can get it where you are. These products are available throughout the Maritimes, down into Maine and into Ontario, and if you like frozen products, well, they'll send them to you just about anywhere. Mrs. Dunster's, it was all I could do with my self-control to not eat these while I talk to you today. I hope I get a chance to host you here in St. Awesome, St. John, New Brunswick.